Hi everyone.
Hi.
I would like to take this. Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Dorothy Adenga. Uh, I work with the Wayward School and Petals, and I'm also the coordinator of education thematic table. I would like to introduce myself on behalf of the activity which we went to do in Rosinga. We went to Rosinga Humanist School on Monday. We had an activity on the Day of an African Child, and we thought that it will be okay if we can celebrate the day with them, because we had previously promised them that when we go back there, we'll have the big day with them. So when it comes to the Day of an African Child, we travel, I and Rose. We were supposed to travel with a colleague called Maureen, but it's unfortunate something cropped in, so Maureen could not travel with us. We arrived around 10. We were picked from Beta up to the Rosinga Humanist School with the manager. The manager introduced us to the principal of the school, whom we sit down and discuss on the activities which we were supposed to do on the day. We found that most of the things we have thought with my colleague Rose is what they were also thinking to do on the same day. So we had a small meeting. When we were having this small meeting in the volunteer house, we met 3 volunteers from Uganda, Germany, and Netherlands. So we had time with Corazon, whom we discussed on the activities which we were supposed to do. The children at the preschool were supposed to color the pictures of African children with different colors. The secondary department was supposed to come up with a discussion on what is supposed to be done on the Day of an African Child. That one comes with the things they think that should be done. And then the primary school came to discuss about how they see and how they want the African Child Day to look like. So we had a different group whereby we started the discussion in the afternoon after lunch. And from there, I'm going to give my colleague Rose opportunity to continue. Rose, you can introduce yourself and continue. Rose, are you there?
Yes. Okay, my name's Rosinga Onyango. I work with African Humanist under Petals, and we work together with Dorothy in most of the activities that we do together on supporting humanist work in Kenya. So from where she left, after we went to Rosinga commemorating the Day of the African Child, we had different activities that we planned together with the teachers and the principal. One of the activities that we did that came out clearly was involving the students in making decisions aligning with the theme of the Day of the African Child, that was budgeting and planning, where we grouped them in groups of 6. In the groups of 6, where both boys and girls were discussing on issues that are affecting them as the African children. We also had groups that were discussing on how they want the Day of the African Child being celebrated in the future. Other groups were also discussing on how the African child in back 10 years back and now currently how the African child needs to look like. We also had a team of pupils from primary sector that came out with a poem that was speaking about today's children and the older version of the children that were there before, the difference between the two children, the challenges, the ups and downs, and how things are keeping to improve in terms of technology and awareness creation. We also had an opportunity to involve both students and subordinate staffs in an activity of soap making where we bought detergents that help make the liquid soap that can help them in different activity in the school, like cleaning, washing, etc. So it was done with both the pupils and the teachers. That was also a combination activity where we saw that pupils and subordinate staffs can work together as a team in planning and budgeting, because most of the time the kids are being left out when planning. Most of the time, they also see planning in terms of finances, in terms of money. And we made it clear that it is not in terms of money, it is how you take things. Even planning for a family, like what are we going to do today? That is also planning. And that was the theme of the Day of the African Child. It was all about planning and budgeting. Then we also had an activity, same activity with the peoples, where we talked about sexual reproductive health and rights, that it is one of the core roles of most of our activity, because these are people, these are students that experience different changes in their bodies and how they live their social life, the people they interact with. So we had a conversation on sexual reproductive health and rights, and we were able to share a package of sanitary towels with every girl that was around. And we also told them on how to accept the changes they experience in their bodies as they grow up, and how to cope with the situations, and also on how them as girls and boys also can be resilient to different challenges they face in the society. So from all the activities, that what came out clearly was about still to date, there are people or there are students who don't know the celebration of the African child. So we concluded that we need to put like a calendar where all the celebrations that are focusing in students are written and placed in somewhere, so that they know what came out about that day and what were they celebrating. Another thing that came clear is most of the students or the pupils were not aware what happened on that day and why is the African child is being celebrated. We made it clear that it was a commemoration where there were African children in South Africa, Soweto, that were killed just because of raising their voices under iniquity and under education and other levels of violation. And they were killed. So the day is being commemorated to just remember that there are kids somewhere that were thinking about this African child that is having or enjoying the rights of going to school, the rights of going to the hospital, the right to speak, the right to celebrate themselves as African children. So another thing that came out clear, that this celebration should be part and parcel of the school, because like on that day, we went to Rosinga Humanist School, and because they have that rule of humanist work and they've been embracing it, they just offered the whole day and postponed all the classes because they were doing exams. So they postponed all the activities of the day just to commemorate the Day of the African Child. So it was a motivation to us, it was a motivation to the school, and it was also a motivation and a plus to our supporter and sponsor that sponsored the activity for us to go to Rosinga Humanist School. It was one of the best experience. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
No, it's okay. Just take your time.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The activity is about commemorating the Day of the African Child. The date when it was done, it is on 16th June. Activity location was at Rosinga Island Humanist School. Target group was people and students because this was their day. The mentors are Ragnar, Antonio, and Julius. Scroll. Yeah, so we have the table of content, activity objective. We have the activity objective, content of activity, activity descriptions, relevance of humanist. So we have the objective. And then we have the content of the activity. And then we have the social content. Then we have the target group. And then we have activity description, whereby it's explaining the activities. And then we have relevancy, humanist strategic objectives. Then we have the key highlights. Yeah. Then we have the key highlights: a strong support, empowering adolescents, collaborative actions, and then we have challenges, and then we have the recommendation. Okay. Data segregation. Yeah. So we have the photo where the children made the frame of the day of an African child. So they were taking photos inside the frame. This is one of the photos we shared, but there are so many other photos where different children were taking photos. And this work, they did it by themselves. They came up with the frame by themselves. And then we have a session where Rose was trying to talk with the girls about sexual reproductive health and rights. Yeah, these are the these are the Muzungu from Netherlands and Germany. And then the ones on the brown are the primary school children. They took a photo with us celebrating the day. Scroll. It has stopped moving. Okay.
Those were the messages that the peoples were trying to bring out. Like they wanted end of child labor, and the other side were different messages that they were trying to pass a message. So those were just stickers that were sticking the messages. Yeah.
So the messages were the wants and the needs.
Yeah.
So after writing them, they were sticking them on where they're supposed to be, the sides of the wants and the sides of the needs, things which must be done. And then this one is the liquid soap which they were making. They made the liquid soap by themselves. And here, these are the preschool children. So they were coloring those photos as we explained for them the reason why we are coloring the photos and how we are getting attached to the African child and how we want the African child to look like. So you will find that most of the photos which the children use, they were using bright colors because they wanted an African child to have a bright future. So if you look at the photos on those other photos where they are standing with their drawings, you'll find most of the children use the bright colors on the clothes of the children, which shows that they want an African child to have a bright future.
Yeah, those were also messages written by the students. Like you can see there, we are very bright, we are very productive, we are proud to be Africans. They were just trying to send messages to just commemorate the Day of the African Child with flowers, with pictures. Yeah. You are making the photo booth there. Yeah. And there we were taking a photo with the people that got the package of the sanitary towel, together with their principal and us included. There, that is a group discussion where they were discussing. So we were trying to elaborate the few points that they had already written into details.
Each girl receiving sanitary towel.
Yeah. The kindergarten,
And
what
that one
they
is
painted.
a photo. Yeah, so you can see what I was saying. They've used the bright colors to color the children playing. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What we learned from, you are asking what we learn on how we can use it in the education table. I can say that in the education table, we've come to realize that the children at school are happy and proud of what they are doing. If we can conclude from the poem they were saying, they were talking about the past children and the present children, and they are embracing the new technology which is coming, and their parents should not blame them for whom they are. So it means that every day the system of education is changing, because we are now not in 844 system in Kenya, but we are in what is called curriculum based
Education. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've learned that we are coming out of the older system of education where we had 844, where children were just being oppressed on reading and coming up with grades. But now we have what is called curriculum based competent system, whereby we don't only base children on their education level of reading and writing, but also on what they can do perfectly. And that is it. That is the reason why it is more of practical than theory. Yeah. So you find most of the things they like doing. Yeah.
Yeah. What also came out clear that can be used at the education table is that we've had the version, no, about humanist work with the pupils, with the teachers, with the staffs. But we also need to include parents in this all things, so that we hear from their point of view, how do they see humanist work and how do they see the African child now compared to before. So from our conclusion that we learned that we need to be inclusive, include both teachers, parents, children, so that the education system can run smoothly. You know, you can't work with a student and a parent without a teacher. You can't work with a teacher and a parent without a student. So these are three key points that can be used even as we are trying to collect materials at the education table, so that we have a manual that will guide us. We should also include that version of the parents. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk about it. Mm.
Yeah, we talked of they are going to have meetings with parents, so we need to have to join the parents, the teachers, and the subordinate staffs in their meeting, so that we hear their version on how they can support humanist work in education. And also they said that they should include us in all the activities. Any plan that they have, seminars, trainings, they will include us. And also, we agreed with them. Now we are going to involve principal or teachers from the nearby schools in this training, so that they also learn from the Rosinga Humanist School, now that is one of our piloting schools on education table. Yeah, maybe Dorothy can add something if I've missed any.
No, it's going to act as if I can add, it's going to act as a benchmarking where the schools around can come and see what they are doing. Because if you look at it, you will find that their siblings who are coming from different homes, maybe their sister is in humanist school where they are treated rightly, but the other ones who are in those other schools, maybe they are being caned, or there are some other things which are being done to them, which maybe is making them not to feel comfortable in their school. So if we have teachers from different schools around Rosinga Humanist School, then we can start talking about one thing on how we can change the look of the education or the look of punishment in those schools to be like the one in humanist school. Yeah. The way the way my school will benefit from this visit is that right now there are most of the things I saw which are happening there. We can still come back here in my school and implement them. Since I still have the younger children, and I normally believe that the younger children are still the empty flash, they're like empty flash discs. So what you plant in them is what they will grow knowing, doing, and taking part in, practicing. So I think next time we will also have the time with them drawing pictures and explaining to them on how those pictures are since they are young. And they can carry those pictures at home. And when they go with the pictures at home, probably their parents will ask about the pictures. So when their parents are dropping them to school, that is the time we will ask the parents if we can also have some times with them and talk to them that Wayward School is now one of the humanist school, and this is the way we are going to run our things, the way I'd already started explaining to the teachers, that I don't want the children to be punished, no caning. If a child arrives late to school, ask the child the reason why he's late to school. If the child has not contributed the money for lunch, because majorly here, they just contribute money for lunch. They don't pay school fees. They contribute something small for lunch. There's a way we can talk with the parents. Like I had a parents meeting yesterday asking them, they can even contribute maize. They can even bring firewood to school so that the child can come and learn. Maureen is answering me in WhatsApp saying that he's not where the Wi-Fi is. So I don't know whether he wants to join this meeting or not. I've just seen the WhatsApp popping up. Yeah.